Sheaffer built its entire name on legendary classic vintage designs. You know, the kind of iconic pens your grandparents might have used. But the Sheaffer Icon in matte black, this is something else entirely. It's their bold, aggressive attempt at modern, industrial stealth. It looks heavy, it looks mean, and it brings up a really crucial question. Is this pen a highly functional, worthy daily driver? Or is it just a heavy novelty cashing in on a century of brand nostalgia? Well, today, in this explainer, we are going to find out. To get to the bottom of this, here is our roadmap. First, we'll hit the evidence room, then dissect that stealth aesthetic, break down the actual build quality and mechanics, put that hooded nib to the test, and finally, wrap it up with our final verdict. Okay, let's jump right in. Section 1, the evidence room. We are looking at some incredibly raw, unfiltered enthusiast data today. What we have here is a meticulous handwritten field test dated August 16th, 2026. And right there next to the notebook paper, you can see the completely disassembled Sheaffer Icon matte black fountain pen. We are going to forensically decode these exact notes, basically line by line, to see how this tool actually held up under some really intense scrutiny. Moving right along to Section 2, the stealth aesthetic. Now, what's really fascinating here is how the reviewer points out the brilliant juxtaposition in the pen's finish. It's not just a flat, boring black tube. You've got this stealthy, light-absorbing matte black covering the main body and cap. But then it's deliberately paired with these highly glossy accents on the grip section and the lower part of the cap. It's a very dynamic design choice that plays beautifully with the light. And you can see that exact contrast perfectly right here. If you look at that lower cap section, the glossy finish is just catching the studio light, and right above it, a super distinct, vibrant red band. The author's notes hit the nail on the head, literally writing, the cap's lower section is glossy with a red band. That tiny pop of red against all that gloss and matte black, it gives the whole thing this aggressive, almost sports car-like vibe. But right in the middle of all this modern industrial design, the reviewer notes this absolute gem, and the iconic white dot on the clip. For anyone who follows writing history, you know this is massive. That white dot is Sheaffer's legendary lifetime guarantee symbol. It represents over a century of heritage. So they've basically grafted their classic vintage DNA right onto this incredibly modern silhouette. Zooming in on the physical evidence, there's that inlaid white dot sitting perfectly near the bottom of the clip. But the field report also drops a great detail here, noting that the clip is springy. That tells us so much about the engineering. It's not just some stiff, useless piece of decorative metal. It's a highly functional mechanical clip. You know, the kind you can actually slide over a thick shirt pocket or a tight leather notebook loop without worrying about it bending completely out of shape. All right, that brings us to Section 3, build quality and mechanics. Because, let's be honest, looks are great, but how does it actually feel? The reviewer is incredibly explicit here, writing, the body is made of metal and has a hefty feeling. So no, this is absolutely not one of those featherweight plastic pens that just kind of disappears in your hand. This is a muscular, heavy profile. When you pick up the Icon, you know for sure you're holding a substantial tool. And honestly, for a lot of writers, that weight is a huge plus, because you can just let gravity do the work and let the pen sink right into the paper. Let's see how that hefty build translates to the grip. There is this fascinating micro detail. See that red stripe leading straight down to the nib? Well, the field notes reveal that the word Sheaffer is etched right into that red stripe in black lettering. Talk about an insane level of subtle, tactile branding placed exactly where your index finger and thumb naturally rest. So, just to quickly summarize the core mechanics we're looking at, you've got solid metal construction delivering that premium heft, a truly usable springy clip, and a highly reliable screw-in converter system. And speaking of that converter, look right here at the exposed mechanics. The notes claimed a screw-in converter, and the evidence backs it up 100%. You can literally see the metallic threads seating the converter securely into the metal grip. Why is that a big deal? Well, enthusiasts heavily prefer a screw-in system over standard push-in friction fits. It basically guarantees you aren't going to have any messy accidents or loose parts when you're drawing up bottled ink. It's just secure. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. Section 4, the hooded nib performance. Because a pen is really only as good as its nib, right? Before we look at the results, let's establish the variables. The field notes specify a hooded steel nib in a medium point paired with classic Sheaffer script blue/black bottled ink. And hooded nibs are just a brilliant piece of engineering. By encasing most of the metal nib inside the grip section, they drastically cut down on ink evaporation. So you can pause your writing, leave the pen uncapped for a minute to think, and when you touch back down, boom, no dry out, no hard starts.
But what about the actual feeling on the page? The notes are super specific. The nib has a feedback, pencil-like feedback. This is absolutely crucial to understand. This nib isn't glassy, it's not that buttery, smooth feeling where it's sliding on ice. Instead, it offers a distinct, controlled toothiness. For people who take fast notes or sketch, that pencil-like feedback is actually exactly what you want, because it gives you physical, tactile control. You can quite literally feel the paper as you write.
And here is the ultimate proof of performance. Down at the bottom of the page, the reviewer ran a rigorous skip test, really pushing the feed to its absolute limits. Look at those fast figure eights and rapid hash marks. And right next to it, the definitive conclusion: no skipping. The feed system kept up flawlessly with fast, erratic, heavy movements without a single break in the line. Which brings us to a huge takeaway. Continuous ink flow equals reliable performance. When you combine that hooded nib preventing premature dryout with a feed system that absolutely crushes a rapid skip test, it means the Sheaffer Icon is going to deliver a profoundly dependable experience. We're talking marathon meeting notes or long, intense journaling sessions without skipping a beat. All right, time to bring it all home. Section 5, the final verdict. Synthesizing all this handwritten field data, a really clear picture emerges. Aesthetically, it totally nails that modern matte and gloss stealth vibe while honoring the vintage white dot heritage. Build-wise, you are getting a heavy, all-metal tank with a super secure screw-in converter. And performance? It delivers continuous, reliable flow paired with that highly controlled pencil-like feedback. It is just a remarkably cohesive package. So returning to our big question, modern stealth daily driver or just overpriced vintage nostalgia? Well, based on the forensic evidence we just went through, it's pretty undeniable. This is a heavily engineered, highly functional modern tool that respects its roots without getting stuck in the past. But really, the final question is for you. Where does a hefty, reliable, tactile writer like this fit into your own everyday carry? Think about it, and as always, keep exploring.